So guys, what if Naruto teleported in High School DxD special movie? It came for everyone eventually, and while he may look young, Uzumaki Naruto had gotten the chance to live a good long life. In death, he reverted back to the age in which he wanted to most talk with his mother at. He was currently 19 years old in appearance, the same age that he had gotten married at. He had always wished that his mother and father had been alive to see him getting married. He didn't see his father. Also, this didn't seem like the afterlife. According to what he had learned about it from Kakashi when he got the chance to die and come back to life, it didn't look like the in-between area between Earth and the Pure Lands either. Jinchuriki. Before you wonder, I was a Jinchuriki, an Uzumaki Jinchuriki, Mito stated as she covered her mouth with the sleeve of her kimono. She was back at her youth as well, but she just felt the need to point it out. Turns out, we Uzumaki don't get to enjoy a nice afterlife anymore. Mito couldn't hide the sigh. Naruto looked around. It was just the three of them. If Uzumakis don't get to enjoy the afterlife, then where are the others? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Kushina was just reaching up to rub the top of his head. You grew up big, thanks. It was kind of weird for just the three of them to be in this place, when apparently Uzumaki in general were not supposed to have a nice afterlife. Naruto wasn't too concerned over it, seeing as they were still there. He was just sure that the Uzumaki clan was a lot bigger than just the three of them. We're Jinchuriki, Mito clarified. So? The Shinigami can't eat our souls, so he can't get revenge on us, because our clan bound and enslaved him. Kushina had been in this situation for a long time now. She was used to just having Mito for conversation, but the fact was that they could spend years just doing nothing in the eternal whiteness that surrounded them, remember? Ah, Naruto remembered. He remembered his mother's flashback to the night he became a Jinchuriki, and how his father said that Jinchuriki were incapable of using the Shiki Fuin, the Fuinjutsu that summoned the death god, the Fuinjutsu that was developed by the Uzumaki clan, the technique that had been taught to Minato by Kushina, and had been placed in the Forbidden Scroll by the previous Hokage, thanks to Mito teaching Hiruzen the technique. Fun fact, the initial seal that had been used to seal Kurama into him was not the Shiki Fuin, but was instead the 8 trigrams, which was based on more Uzumaki Fuinjutsu, and eventually he developed his own Fuinjutsu, the Torii seal, based on the key to the 8 trigrams seal his parents had used. You see, but why am I being punished? I never used the Shiki Fuin, and I am only half. You're an Uzumaki who created his own seal, the Torii seal. A seal even stronger than the 8 trigrams, which could seal up the entire Kyuubi. And fragments of the other tailed beasts. Even the death god could only seal half of the Kyuubi into himself. Mito stated the reason why Naruto was being included in the punishment list. His potential with Fuinjutsu, while for the most part untrained, was just as strong as other Uzumaki. Not to mention he inherited the extremely powerful life force of the Uzumaki. The chakra amounts in spades, and his chakra even had strong healing qualities that he could share with others. In the eyes of the gods, Naruto was a full-blown Uzumaki, since other than his red hair, he had every single trait that defined the clan. Ah. My son and daughter will be fine if the gods don't consider them to be real Uzumaki. By the way, you have adorable children. I think the future of Uzumaki having whisker marks and blue eyes will be adorable. A clan of foxes. Kushina just gave Naruto a thumbs up, since with his generation, he had changed the dominant traits of the Uzumaki clan. All of Naruto's descendants would inherit those dominant whisker marks, changing the defining trait of their clan from red hair to whisker marks. Adorable. So chakra strength, Fuinjutsu, and strong life force. So what, we just sit here? Naruto sat down, unsure of what he was supposed to do now. They were dead, not going to complain about how it isn't fair? Kushina asked. She remembered complaining about it for years. No point in complaining. Might as well think about how to get out of this mess instead. We still have chakra, so the way I see it, there is a chance. Maybe Obito will use his Kamui to teleport to me and bring us back with him. Naruto remembered Obito teleporting to the living world from the afterlife with his Sharingan before. He knew that they still had chakra in the afterlife, meaning that stuff could still be done. Kushina just smiled proudly. Minus 30 years later, the Shinigami, the god of death. After 30 years, he appeared before them. They beat the shit out of him the second he appeared, none of them even hesitating. Kushina wrapped the god up in her chains, while Naruto started to pound him, laying into him with his fists so that the god could feel the immense weight of what he had done to them for crimes that they had never personally committed. Let us go to the afterlife, asshole. Kushina was kicking him in the teeth. Naruto kicked him in the belly. A very old man appeared before them. Naruto, it has been a while. The Six Paths sage spoke as he raised a hand and greeted Naruto. Having appeared before them, in the middle of the death god ass kicking, He didn't so much as spare a moment to glance at the defeated, bound, and pathetic god that was getting his just deserted for punishing the innocent among his descendants. You never showed up in the afterlife, so I came looking for you. It would appear that you have been banned from a proper afterlife by the gods. The sage spoke with a raised eyebrow. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. You here to pick us up? Sadly, I am unable. My son's chakra attached to you is preventing me from being able to transport you. You are a part of the reincarnation cycle thanks to his chakra, and due to restrictions, I cannot bring you with me. The sage was just curious where Naruto was, and went looking for him. The problem with Asura and Indra had been dealt with by Naruto and Sasuke, so their chakra was not going to reincarnate into future generations. A reincarnation that was destined to reincarnate, but was unable to do so, was stuck in a strange place. Asura had passed on to the afterlife, but his chakra had been passed down, and since Asura was in the afterlife, his chakra was preventing Naruto from passing on, until the day that the chakra left Naruto, which it would never do, since Naruto ended the cycle of battle between the brothers' chakra. It was a big mess. Shinigami, explain, Kushina demanded, simple as that. Banishment. Ah, Naruto could feel himself going away. He looked down at his feet as they were the first part of him to start to go. Naruto just looked towards the sage, who nodded his head, since he could see that Naruto understood what was happening to him. Being banned meant that you could not go into the Pure Lands, and would get eaten by the Shinigami. Being banished meant that you could not even stay in the in-between. Uzumaki Mito, you were banished to forever walk the earth as a ghost, unable to pass on, for the crime of teaching the Shiki Fuin to Sarutobi Hiruzen. The Shinigami passed judgment over Mito first. As the woman who had been there the longest of them, you will forever walk the destroyed Edi village. Ah, saddening. Mito took it with a grain of salt. She vanished faster than Naruto did. Uzumaki Kushina, you are banished to forever walk the earth as a ghost, unable to pass on, for the crime of teaching the Shiki Fuin to Namikaze Minato. The Shinigami pointed to Kushina, who just rolled her eyes and flipped off the death god. You will forever walk the Cloud Village, and spend your death among those who sought to kidnap you. Kushina added a second hand to flipping him off. She winked at Naruto as she started to vanish. See you later. She was gone, and so were his chains, allowing the Shinigami to stand back up. Naruto saw him going for his dagger. You do realize you would not be the first god being I've defeated. You want to fight for real, because I was just taking some anger out on you before. Naruto crossed his eyes and forced the Shinigami to reconsider revenge. Even without Kurama, Naruto closed his eyes, and opened them again to show his eyes were yellow, with crosses for pupils. The Six Paths Sage Mode, no cloak, a divine transformation. The Shinigami was forced to pause his actions as he weighed his options, and a person could see that he was considering if revenge was worth the risk that came with fighting a being who was fueled by divine chakra. He looked and saw that Naruto's legs were fully gone, meaning that he would just be fighting Naruto's upper body. He sheathed his dagger. He still didn't like those odds. So, what is my crime, and where am I being banished to? Uzumaki Naruto, you are banished to forever walk a foreign land as a ghost, unable to pass on, for the crime of ripping a hole through the heavens, and tearing space and time. Boruto the movie. Light novel. I never did that. Yes you did. Your existence was expanding and destroy the universe. 'Tis the reason why Momoshiki and Kinshiki were able to track you. You were too strong, and your chakra was slowly destroying everything. The sage corrected Naruto, who never actually knew what his existence had done, which is why, sadly, to avoid the destruction of our universe, please surrender your Six Paths Sage back to me. The sage extended his hand to Naruto. You will not walk earth. You are banished to foreign lands. You will forever walk in lands untouched by the Otsutsuki gods. You will go to a place where your chakra will not ever take the chance of reincarnating into your descendants. Explain. If you go back to our world, it is possible for you to possess somebody and the problem will still exist. If you were banished to another world, then try to possess somebody. You would need to abandon your chakra to do it. Otherwise your chakra would cause the host to explode, and Naruto sighed. If I abandon my chakra, then that fixes a whole lot of problems. Also, did I really commit a crime if I was unaware of doing it? Naruto asked the Shinigami with a fox-like grin. He bumped fists with the sage, and passed his sage powers back to the man, abandoning his ability to transform into the mode. Possess somebody? Naruto vanished in another world. Naruto did not recognize anything when he appeared as a ghost. He sort of felt naked and alone, even though as a ghost, he was wearing clothes that matched what he wore most often at the physical age he manifested as. No Kurama. No Six Paths Sage Mode. He entered Sage Mode. Still got Sage Mode, even as a ghost, and no chakra, natural energy. and I can sense people have spirit energy and physical energy, but they don't have chakra to connect them. Naruto could sense a lot of stuff. This world had never been visited by the Otsutsuki clan before, meaning the people of those world had no chakra to connect their spirit and physical energies together. Time to walk. Who knows? Maybe I can find somebody who can see me. Would be a lot less boring to have somebody to talk to. Naruto started walking, and while he could sense everyone, he knew that only somebody who had something special about them would have a slim chance of being able to see him, so he started to go towards the closest person who had something special about them, something buried within them. Minus 15 years later, this one couldn't see me either. Bummer. Naruto was standing in front of a boy, who just passed right through him. He crossed this person off of his list, and started to walk in the direction of the next person with a special trait. Eventually, he hoped he would find somebody that he could have a conversation with. By this point, he was sure his daughter and son were both dead, so he mentally prayed that the two of them got to enjoy a normal afterlife with Hinata. Well, till death do they part, now to find a friend in this world. So simple solution. Naruto started to seek out non-humans, but most non-humans lacked the ability to comprehend him. They could see him in the most shallow of ways possible, being unable to see him for what he was due to their lack of a human nature. That narrowed things down to the 1% of humans that could see him, and the mixed breed children between the supernatural and humans. Hi. Ah. Oh good, you could actually see me. I thought you were just a weird girl for a second. Naruto sighed in relief as he sat down in a chair. The chair didn't so much as budge or show he was sitting in it, but a small girl had jumped back in shock when he phased through the floor of her room. She was beautiful, like a doll, pale blonde hair, with red eyes and pointed ears with small fangs showing. She had a thin body with delicate features, but he could tell that she had above-average magical reserves, much higher than a human of this world naturally had. She also had the special trait that he sensed from some humans, showing that she was a half-breed. He had never seen a non-human with the special trait before. I am a boy. Wow. This is like the second or third time I've made this mistake. Naruto looked at the boy more closely, and saw that he was wearing clothes that could belong to either gender. He leaned forward, before he shrugged his shoulders. So, want to be friends? You seem lonely, and I am a wandering ghost. I've been wandering this world looking for somebody who could see me for about 40 years now. He guessed 40 years, maybe it had been longer, or shorter. He never slept. A friend, you want to be my friend, but I am a weirdo, and a vampire, but I am worthless, and weak, and I can't control my sacred gear. The boy was pushing his fingers together and looking away from Naruto. Deja vu. I have no clue what a vampire is, or a sacred gear, and I don't care if you're worthless or weak, and I am a bit of a weirdo myself. Naruto saw no reason to be driven off by such shallow reasons for denying friendship. Well, the weirdo thing could be a good reason for some, but all kids were a little weird. You're weird? Yeah. Actually, I am not just a ghost. I am an alien ghost from another dimension, who was banished by my world Shinigami, because I came from the family who enslaved him, and I was too powerful. I am a super freak. What? So, tell me about yourself. Naruto didn't repeat himself. Even though the boy seemed to not know how to respond to that, Naruto hummed to himself as he patiently waited for the boy to begin his introduction. How old are you? I am Gasper. I am. You're scary. I am sorry. The boy surprised Naruto by running away from him, but Naruto noticed that the fire in the fireplace had stopped. Naruto raised an eyebrow, and he saw the clock in the room had stopped as well. Time-stopping powers. You know, I exist outside of the flow of time, so, I don't know how you are doing this, but it won't work. Naruto put two and two together, and he saw that Gasper's eyes were glowing, and markings had appeared in them, his pupils glowing yellow in the middle of the black lines that spread to the edge of his iris. Since his eyes were red, it was almost like he had a Mangekyo Sharingan in appearance, other than the glowing part. Naruto saw Gasper stopped backing away. Naruto just waited more patiently as the boy seemed to not know how to react. Abuse victim. Vampire, not vampire, so half-human. I bet he faced neglect and abuse, and he has some good spiritual power inside of him. No doubt he has faced some serious fear and abuse. Those born with great power are either praised, or feared. Naruto didn't say anything and just smiled at Gasper. He crossed his legs in front of himself and made himself comfortable, while waiting for Gasper to slow his heart rate, deep, calming breaths, and try and think about lowering your voice. It will calm your nerves, but speak clearly. Gasper followed the instructions. -3 months later. I am Gasper Vladdy. I hate blood and liver, also fish, and I am half vampire. Gasper finally worked up the courage to speak with Naruto. Gasper lived his normal life during the 3 months, and Naruto didn't speak up again. He just sat patiently in the chair, and allowed Gasper to get used to him at his own pace. He felt sorry for the boy, but despite how long it took for him to properly introduce himself, Naruto only responded with a smile. I am Uzumaki Naruto, call me Naruto, let's be friends. Actually, I am going to run away, my friend Valerie is going to make a chance for me to run away. My family, they sleep during the day. I can't be here anymore. I hate it. I just want it. Can you help me? Gasper didn't just introduce himself to be nice. He wanted the help of somebody who seemed like he had experience. Somebody who was happy to help somebody as weird as him. Run away. He was abused enough to want to run away, which was a sad thing that he was being pushed towards this extreme. Naruto stood up from the chair he sat in for the first time in months, and he looked down at Gasper with a gentle smile. That's what friends are for. Is there anything I can do for you? Gasper asked, since Naruto didn't actually say he wanted anything for the help. He got a shake of Naruto's head. Nope. I am just going to help you. No deal, no trade, nothing. I can't do much more than give you emotional support. You're not going to ask for anything. Nothing, Naruto affirmed, just wanting to help the boy. I understand exactly what it feels like to be feared by people who don't understand, to be neglected, abused, hated. The feeling that you want to run away. Naruto didn't even need that reason to want to help the boy. Gasper was hiding it, but he had bruised under his clothes. The way he moved showed it. He faced emotional and physical abuse. He needed out of this place. Gasper's smile was the first smile he had seen from the boy in 3 months. You understand what I am feeling. I mean, I am sorry you were ever born into a position to understand this stuff. That was badly phrased, Naruto thought, since Gasper unknowingly just said he was sorry that Naruto had been born. Naruto let the subtle, unknown insult fly, though, since the boy seemed to have no social skills to be had. -2 weeks later for an escape. This is going too smooth. Then again, vampires don't like sunshine. Naruto walked at a brisk pace as Gasper was running away. He was already out of the castle, but Naruto just had the feeling that something was going to go wrong. They always did. Things would always go wrong in his life whenever he tried anything, and somehow, he felt that this boy would share the same luck as him. He did not want to voice his thoughts on the chance that his thoughts would cause Gasper to give up and return to his abusers. The feeling grew stronger. Gasper, keep your guard up, Naruto just stated that. Naruto jumped in front of Gasper and reached to grab an arrow, but the arrow went through his hand and his body before it pierced the ground next to Gasper. A miss. Naruto saw people that were hiding were starting to come out, and Gasper finally noticed the arrow that had missed him. Eep. Gasper, activate your time stop powers, and stop them, then escape. Naruto saw Gasper try. Before he saw the fear take over for Gasper, the boy just turned and started to run once everyone who had been in hiding had come out of hiding. Naruto just moved next to Gasper, and he could see the boy was breathing heavy as he ran at full speed away from the charging mob of people. They were gaining on Gasper slowly. There was a nearby village, but going there would not end well for Gasper. Naruto, please, save me, I don't want to die. I don't want the vampire hunters to kill me. There isn't anything I can do, just keep running. Naruto looked at the approaching group. There really wasn't anything he could do with his limited abilities as a ghost. Gasper did not have the skill to fight. Even if Naruto coached him right now, Gasper was not skilled enough to actually be able to follow his instructions in the middle of high stress, life or death, combat. It was a simple fact of the matter that Gasper was not going to be able to survive. Gasper was going to die. A spear pierced Gasper's body moments later, and he rolled onto the ground. Blood was already coming out of his mouth, but his strong vampire life force was keeping him alive when he suffered a usually instantly fatal blow. Now that was something Naruto felt sympathy for. Sometimes surviving your wounds sucked worse than just being killed by them. Gasper wasn't able to fight back. Please, Naruto, save me. Get the vampire. Slay him before he can heal. A hunter pulled the spear out of Gasper's body, and stabbed it back into him again. Gasper managed to look at the hunters, and he stopped time on them. He struggled to his feet and started to run away again, but without any of the speed he had before. His escape attempt was doomed to end in failure and death. If he had my experience, Naruto realized that there was something he could do. Gasper lost control over his power and time resumed on the hunters, and they noticed he was running away. Gasper collapsed as a spear passed over his body, missing him, but the boy threw up blood, before he landed face first on the grass. He had experience. Even if the situation was hopeless, he could at least save Gasper from the pain. Gasper, hold your breath. Naruto placed his hand inside of Gasper. Naruto closed his eyes and allowed his chakra to leave his soul, and he grabbed onto Gasper's soul. Gasper felt it and tried to hold his breath, before his soul was pushed out of his body. The young vampire's soul went inside of his own shadow. Naruto sank inside of Gaspar's body. Ah! The boy is standing up. Flames of yellow power burst out of Gaspar's cheeks. 3 flames appeared out of each cheek and engraved feral whisker marks into those cheeks. Naruto was in full control within moments, and he felt the pain that Gaspar was in. The boy's liver and lung had both been pierced by the spears, wounds that were both exceedingly painful and extremely fatal. I'll trade my chakra to try and save you, you just stay safe and sound inside of your shadow. Naruto felt Gaspar's soul had been transferred properly. He turned to face the vampire hunters. No chakra. Naruto raised up his hand as a spear came for him, and he felt the tip cut his hand for a moment, before he twisted it and the spear stabbed into the ground. He grabbed the pole, before he kicked the man who had thrown the spear in the neck with both feet. Naruto watched the man stumble back. Before he pulled the spear out of the ground, he spun it around and knocked an arrow off of its course. Instead of piercing his eye, it pierced his shoulder. He slammed the butt of the spear into the ground and kicked the back of the man who was holding his throat, and the man stumbled forward, and his own spear was pierced right through his eye, going directly into his brain. Naruto killed the man, before he raised both of his arms up and blocked an arrow that pierced his forearm. Everyone, run away now, or I'll kill you all. I can't run away, but I can fight for my life, and I value my own life over your lives. The flames covering Gaspar's cheeks finally died down, revealing whisker marks had fully formed underneath them. A bluff. You killed my husband, you demon child. The group got their fighting courage back, and started to charge towards Naruto. Naruto, stay safe in there, Gaspar. I've got this. Naruto lowered his stance and grabbed the back of the dead man's shirt. With a flip, he flipped the man over and used his body as a shield to block several arrows from the ranged support. He pushed the body forward and into the first man that would have attacked him. This is going to be tough though, Naruto thought as he ducked a sword slash to the face. These people were playing for keeps. Naruto grabbed the man's arm and sank his teeth into his forearm, biting him hard enough to drop his sword to the ground. The man roared in pain and punched Naruto, or at least made the attempt, but Naruto rolled across the ground and collected the sword. The man reacted to try and get away, but Naruto took the handle with both hands. He turned and faced an archer, before he overhead flung the sword. The archer took the sword to the chest, leaving the swordsman hunter shocked. This isn't a one-on-one battle. Don't just assume I am going to attack you first, Naruto thought as he took the man's surprise as a chance. Naruto yanked an arrow from his shoulder, and jumped forward, before he stabbed the man in the throat with the arrow. The arrow went all the way through his flesh. My connection to Gaspar's body is weak. My life force isn't healing his wounds. Naruto kicked off of the man. The axe wielder took his chance. Naruto held his arm back by instinct. Die. Rasengan. Naruto swung his arm forward, and nothing happened when no chakra came out of Gaspar's body, and the technique failed completely. Naruto jumped back as soon as he realized that his instincts had failed him, and the axe tore through his chest, a wound cutting into him as Gaspar's blood splashed against the ground. Naruto, it's okay. Don't get hurt because of me, you don't have to suffer. Of course I do. I am your friend. Naruto grabbed the wound and squeezed it as the axe wielder stepped forward and prepared for a second swing. Naruto saw a few more hunters were joining the fray. Naruto stepped forward and tackled the axe wielder in the stomach, too close for him to attack with his axe. He knocked the man off balance and onto his back, before he saw another sword wielder swinging at him. He kicked one of the man's feet, knocking him to his knee and causing his sword to go flying out of his hand. Naruto grabbed the axe from the grass, and before he could swing, the axe wielder grabbed Naruto by the throat. Gotcha, hell spawn. Naruto was stabbed through the chest, and coughed out blood. He spat blood in the man's eyes who was holding him, and got dropped to his feet. Naruto lifted the axe up and brought it down on the man's head as the sword was yanked out of his chest. Naruto saw more vampire hunters were coming to back up the ones who were already fighting. Magic. It is controlled by magic energy, which is made of spirit energy. I've never used vampire abilities before. Still, I can feel Gaspar's magic power in his body. Instead of treating it like chakra, Naruto turned his head and pulled on Gaspar's magic reserves. He pulled them into his eyes and tried to focus his sight on the sword wielder. He knelt down and placed his hand on his shadow and ducked underneath a sword strike. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Naruto's eyes changed as the black markings spread across the red, and his pupils glowed yellow. The man froze in time before he could take another swing, and Naruto grabbed the axe from its dead wielder and slashed the man's throat out. He changed targets and looked at the ground of approaching hunters, freezing them in time as the man he stopped looking at resumed his place in time. He collapsed. Grabbing his throat, The blood loss started to get to Naruto and his vision blurred for a moment, allowing the crowd to resume their assault. Naruto picked the sword up from the ground. Naruto, please, you just met me, you don't have to do this. Yes I do, because I protect my friends till the end, even if I fail to save your life, at least I can protect you from the pain. Naruto dropped to his knees, before taking a deep breath, he coughed out the blood in his lungs, before standing back up. Gasper could watch from his place in his shadow. Stop getting hurt for me. I promised to help you, and I never go back on my word. I never give up, and I never go back on my word, because that is how I have always lived my life. Naruto roared as he summoned all of the strength in the body he possessed and charged into battle. He flung his sword at the ground, and he paused time on the person he aimed at. The sword sank into his flesh and Naruto felt a bullet pierce through his belly, and the man resumed time as a sword went through his head and killed him. Naruto felt 2 more bullets pierce him. He grinned. The demon is grinning. Stake his heart. I am starting to get used to this body. Naruto was losing strength, but he could move his body better than before. Small and weak didn't matter to him as he dodged 3 sword slashes by walking backwards, and he hid behind the grown men and out of the line of sight of the gunner. He pulled the spear out of the first corpse, and leaned backwards to dodge a swipe. The sword stabbed the spear and got stuck when Naruto froze time on it. Before the man let go of his sword, Naruto grabbed his sword and lost control over the time-stopping eyes. Before he ran the man through with the sword, he pushed deeper when the man took out 2 daggers and stabbed them into his back. Ru. Naruto roared and pushed forward. He stabbed the gunner while pushing forward, impaling 2 people on the sword, before he fell to his face on the ground, the 2 corpses falling onto their side, connected by the sword. Gasper just watched in horror, but something else was growing inside of him. He watched his body doing amazing things. Naruto stood back up. How can you still stand? Because, I am protecting my friend. Naruto yanked the daggers from his body and wielded both of them. He threw one of them and then he threw the second one. A woman dodged the first dagger, but as she dodged, the second dagger got her by surprise. Hiding in the shadow of the first, Naruto looked at a rope tossed and wrapped around his neck. Before it was pulled tight, he yanked the sword out of the corpses and cut the rope as he was yanked off of his feet. He rolled to his feet and faced down the last hunter. How are you still alive? You've been fatally wounded so much, not even a vampire can survive this much. Hey, it's just a scratch, this is nothing compared to when my best friend fisted me. Naruto realized how that sounded, shoved his fist into me, when he stabbed me with his lightning fist, through the chest. Naruto made the final correction so that what he said didn't sound sexual. Naruto's arms dropped to his sides, he lost the ability to move them, and he was standing on pure willpower. The last hunter dropped his weapon out of fear when Naruto gave him a larger grin, and lowered his body into a more firm attacking stance. Immortal, are you? Undying? Yes. Naruto watched the man turn tail and run away as fast as he could. Before Naruto collapsed onto his back, his eyes closing, he coughed out more blood. Before he looked down and saw just how horribly wounded he was, he could feel Gasper in his shadow, and he smiled when he could sense that Gasper was in no pain. Am I dying? Gasper got no answer from his body, and saw Naruto had blacked out from blood loss, and even in his shadow, his own vision was fading away. The last thing he saw was red, then blackness. Wah! Naruto, you're alive. I am being hugged by a shadow, and my life force is flowing through this body much more naturally. Something weird happened. Naruto thought as his shadow, Gasper's body's shadow, was coming off the bed and hugging him. The shadow had red eyes, which was weird by itself, but the fact that Naruto was alive inside of Gasper's body, with full control of it, was another matter completely. In all honesty, he should be dead, Gasper that is. He had been a ghost, so even if Gasper's body had died, he would just still be dead. Now his spirit was firmly planted inside of Gasper's body, and Gasper seemed to care less about that and more about the fact he was okay. Naruto just rubbed the top of Gasper's shadowy head to comfort him. Yeah, I am alive, me too, and look at me now. Gasper went back into a full shadow, and his eyes shined from where the shadow figure's eyes would be. He gave off the aura of being happy, so he didn't seem too upset at no longer having a physical body. Being in your shadow is so comforting. I wish I had known. I would have just given you my body, Gasper spoke. Good for you, you're not happy. Gasper could hardly believe that Naruto was displeased by being alive. I lived a good life, Gasper, and now I've taken your chance for a good life. I am alive again. And this is my body now. I've stolen it from you. All I wanted to do was make your death painless at the end. Naruto could feel the life blood pumping in his veins. No good act went unpunished. His good act had been a punishment, though he had no clue how he was now alive again. Since his life force had not been properly a part of Gasper before, Naruto closed his eyes, and he placed his hand against his chance. He sent out a pulse of Gasper's energy into his body, and he tried to sense if there was something wrong. Naruto felt something in his own soul, in Gasper's body, binding his soul and body firmly together. Naruto smelled his arm, not human, and not half vampire like before either. Gasper has a good sense of smell on him, though it smells blood better than regular scents. My body is giving off a strange energy. Naruto stood up out of the bed. He was no longer severely injured, and he was wearing nice pajamas that fit his new body well. Good color on them. I approve. Naruto saw that they were black with orange pumpkins on them, colors that he could fully agree with. They feel nice. You can feel. Not directly, but I feel your impressions of them. Gasper didn't have a sense of touch, but he could feel whatever Naruto felt about something. He got a vague, comforting feeling from Naruto at the moment. The deeper he went into shadow, and he got even more feelings, and more impressions of things. He liked his new form. He didn't feel any light at all on his skin, and his entire existence seemed consumed by darkness and shadows. I am following this connection. Seems that whoever saved our life placed something inside me, something that changed us. Naruto informed Gasper as he left the large bedroom, and went into the hallway. His shadow lifted up and consumed him as he blended into the wall, as soon as a maid turned the corner and started to walk towards them. Thanks, Gasper. No problem. Their voices were muffled by the shadows, and Gasper stopped covering him when the maid passed by. Naruto sent another sonar pulse into his body, and strengthened the connection between him and whatever it was inside of him. Two somethings, paranoia aside, Naruto grabbed a maid. Another one turned the corner, and then proceeded to knock her out cold with a knee to her chin. He stripped her naked, before putting the maid's clothes on, and when she was naked, he dragged her towards a nearby room. He placed her inside of a closet, before grabbing her broom, and holding it in a way that masked his face from view. He walked through the hallways with more confidence after that. Just because their lives were saved, did not mean they were in a safe place. For all he knew, they had their lives saved for a selfish reason by a person who wanted to use them. He had seen such things done many times, when a person pretended to be good for the sake of winning trust. In another room. I wonder if my little vamp is awake yet. Rias Gremory could not believe her amazing luck. All she was doing was taking a nice vacation, when she wandered off and found a half-dead vampire boy who had killed off a group of vampire hunters. The boy even had a sacred gear, meaning he was half human. This was her sacred gear user in her peerage, and she was taking a huge risk. A mutated bishop, and her regular bishop, she had used both her mutated and regular bishop pieces to revive the boy from the brink of death. Meaning that his potential had to be absolutely insane. He was young, and he didn't seem like all that much a man, but the fact that he killed a group of vampire hunters, during daylight, meant he was not just a vampire, but he was a daywalker. He had vampire powers, a sacred gear, and his vampire weaknesses were severely reduced, and he already had some ability. The door to her room opened and a maid walked in. In her mirror, Rias could see the broom the maid was holding was covering her face. If you want to clean, it'll be out when I finish. Rias stopped talking when she looked in her mirror and saw a knife was pointed at her neck, and the broom dropped, so that she could see the maid was actually the boy that she saved. She smiled when she looked into the boy's eyes and saw a lack of genuine malice in them. She smiled and raised her hands up in surrender. She did not sense the intent to kill either, so she was pretty sure that she was safe. What are you? Who are you? And why is there something binding my soul to this body? I am a devil, Rias Gremory, and I saved you, but to do it, I needed to revive you as a devil, binding your soul to. Odd way to phrase it. Rias was very calm as the knife moved away from her throat. Why am I alive would have been the normal way to phrase that. No, it really isn't. When you revived this body, I was controlling it. The soul that actually belongs in here isn't here. Gasper. Tell her you want your body back, Naruto stated to Gasper as he tapped on his shadow with his foot. Rias raised an eyebrow. What? But, I don't want that body back. I feel so much happier, and safer, and more comfortable in your shadow. It's all dark and cool in here, and I won't have to suffer anymore, so you keep it. Gasper's shadow body leaned up, and Rias' eyebrows shot above her hairline in shock when she heard a voice come from the shadow, and the shadow's glowing eyes, not to mention the shadow was taking a physical-ish form in front of her, with clearly a different personality controlling it. Naruto palmed his face. Gasper, you were supposed to demand your body back. Not my body anymore, and I don't want it back. I feel nice inside of you, and this is where I want to stay. Well, this is awkward. Names is Naruto Uzumaki, and the previous owner of this body is in my shadow. His name is Gasper Vladi. Naruto took the knife away from Rias with a sigh, and threw it at the wall, sticking it into it. Naruto ripped the maid clothes off of his body, A disguise was clearly no longer needed, since you're not evil, and we're clearly bound together now. What is our relationship? Naruto asked Rias with a raised eyebrow. Technically, master and servant, no, kind of not optional. It is optional. I can always kill you and run away, but I am not doing that, you said technically, meaning that your views and society's views are different, so if your devil society sees us as master and servant, how do you see our relationship? Naruto asked Rias, since he had no intentions of having any relationship with her at all if she didn't give him a good answer. He didn't care if she saved his life. He would owe no life debt to somebody who saved him for selfish reasons. Rias put a finger to her lip. Well, it depends. I see my cute servants as family, brothers, sisters, the like. I want to pamper and spoil you, and discipline you if you act out. I love my servants, and that includes you now, Rias explained rather simply. Naruto sat down on her bed. There was not tension between them. You're lucky I can tell you're an honest person. If I were some distrusting asshole, I would suspect you of being a manipulative bitch, who only saved me to manipulate me, Naruto stated with a sigh. Luck. He could tell that it was pure luck that led to the meeting, nor did she have eyes of a person who was all that great at manipulating others indirectly. She was the same type of person that he was, and that was both funny and sad. She was stupid lucky. Well, anyway, I am going to train to get used to this body. I'll be your servant for now, but only on the condition that you treat me well. I value peace and love, so I'll kill you if you ever try and force me to go against my core beliefs, Naruto told her plain and simple. Rias had never had her life threatened so casually. With no killing intent behind the words too. Oh, will you? Yeah, never order me to kill somebody for revenge, and never force me to break a promise. You promised to follow those rules, and we can get along just fine. Naruto didn't have any issues with this situation, so long as she didn't try and force him to go against his core values. Minor orders and stuff wouldn't bother him too bad, so long as she never tried to attempt to make him do something like that. Of course, I say kill, but I'll only actually kill you if I think you've gone off the deep end when you're trying to make me break my values. I might settle for breaking your legs, Naruto teased her. She giggled. You must really value your beliefs. You can't trust anyone who would betray their beliefs lightly, so you can trust me, and if you want me to trust you, swear on your kneecaps. I swear on my kneecaps that I won't try and force you to go against your values, Rias humored Naruto and raised a hand to her chest. She had such an interesting new family member, Taju Kaneko, Yuto Kiba, Hamejima Akeno, the Rook, Knight, and Queen of the Peerage respectively, and honestly, Naruto wasn't too fond of any of them as they were. He could see that two of them were lying to themselves, and one of them was filled with a deep-seated consuming desire for revenge. He saw those familiar looks to their eyes, and their issues were serious enough that he could tell it negatively impacted their lives as a whole. When the actually, natural-born, devil of the group was more honest than those not born of evil, that was saying something. What is the point of this training? You never worked on your core strength, even if being a vampire means having a body that is like a doll. Not having core strength is a serious flaw. This way I can kill two birds with one stone. Naruto was sweating as he placed the back of his foot on one shadow, and the tip of his finger on another shadow. Both of the shadows were extended far off the ground, with only his foot and finger holding him at an awkward angle off the ground. He needed to use his abs in order to keep himself balanced for as long as possible, but Gasper did not have a body built for endurance and stamina. Why? All attacks are enhanced by a strong core that can handle recoil. The stronger your core, the better you can fight, and this way, I can practice this shadow manipulation ability. Naruto lifted the shadow at his foot up higher slowly, concentrating on his abs, before he switched his foot and finger, while holding his abs as still as possible. My control over this magic power, it's shaky, and before I can do anything, I need to become a lot more comfortable with my new body. Naruto used his free hand and pointed a finger up. A shadow extended from the ground, up to his finger, and he grabbed the end of the shadow. Before he flipped himself, he was upside down, and he started to walk on his hands, bringing another shadow up as he walked forward, keeping himself balanced using only the palms of his hands. Seems like you have control? Gasper was riding on Naruto's body as a shadow. No, I am shaking too much. If I was in full control, I would be able to walk on the tips of my fingers. No shaking. Much faster than this. Naruto was going slowly because he lacked proper control over the magic, and Gasper's body was not fit enough to handle the stress of the full training. It would take hard work before he had both the body and magic under complete control, flexible though. Naruto leaned more and created a platform out of shadows that rose up to meet his foot as he started to twist himself. I was that flexible. Yeah,
At least, you are very agile. You have a smaller body. It's lighter too. As girly as it is, it does have some combat benefits. Naruto felt the strain in his body and stopped trying to do what he was doing. Before he let go of all of the shadows and flipped, he dropped to the ground, out of breath and sat down. A water balloon. Naruto grabbed it and lifted it up. Before it started to flatten itself, the water inside of it moving, Naruto frowned in annoyance at how the magic just didn't want to burst the balloon and create multiple spirals. Once he could complete the steps to recreate the Rasengan, he would know that he had gained a super high level of mastery over manipulating magic as an energy. He tossed the balloon and popped it. Rasengan. Pure chakra shape manipulation, and if he was right, since all it was pure energy manipulation, he would be able to recreate it with magic. Still, the control needed to perform even the first step of the Rasengan was a different level of challenge since he was just getting used to this new energy.
So, are you done training? Not even close, it'll be done when I collapse. I am getting the control about right, but not I need to increase the speed I can control shadows, and I still have enough strength to train these soft muscles. Naruto slapped his belly a few times. Gasper was just not built for muscles. Some people just did not have that in their genes, but bad genetics or not, he would at least increase the strength of the abs that Gasper could manage. Naruto placed his arms out, and shadows rose up from the ground and he grabbed onto them. He made them connect above him, before he flipped and hooked his knees on them like a bar. He hung upside down from the bar, and placed his hands behind his head. You sure take training seriously. Ah, Rias, yep. Naruto started to do sit-ups from a hanging position, while keeping the shadows firmly in place. If he lost concentration on the shadows, he would fall and hit his head on the ground. He was going to keep going until he physically could not train his body anymore, and then when he woke up, he would do it again. He channeled magic to his eyes. Rias froze in time. Naruto reached his hand out while working out, and shadows extended and untied Rias' shoes, before he put his hand back behind his head. Mean, yep. Naruto felt strain in his eyes, before time resumed on Rias, and she didn't even notice that his shoes were untied. Whoa, whoa. Lightheaded, Naruto dropped to the ground, but Rias managed to catch him. Maybe you should drink some blood. Oh right, vampire. Naruto was still confused by how the vampire and devil thing worked out, since you would think the vampire biology would no longer apply. Still, it would seem that when you were turned into a devil, it didn't actually change your genetics all the way. Whatever you were still that, but now you add devil into the mix, so if you were a human, you still have basic human biology, but enhanced by devil biology. It was like being a mixed breed. Blood drinking is gross though, I hate it. Gasper complained. Gasper, you are a shadow, you don't have to drink it anymore, Naruto reminded Gasper as he got out of Rias' arms. He sensed Gasper was very happy with those words, while Naruto looked at Rias. He is right, it is kind of gross, but I wonder if it will taste good now that I am not human. Naruto was both grossed out and curious about if he would like blood with his new taste buds. He subconsciously touched his left cheek. He remembered how weird it felt to have his blood licked from a wound before, and even some humans like the taste of blood. You can drink mine. No thanks. Even if I was interested, I think it would be really inappropriate to drink your blood. When I am at face level with your boobs, Naruto wouldn't even be able to properly bite her neck while she was standing. The most he would be able to do would be to bite her boobs or her arm, and suck her blood out of that. It would be awkward, and she was a young woman, so he didn't want to put any bite marks on her. Also, being face level with boobs was just about the only direct benefit of Gasper being a shorty. Thankfully, Naruto had experience in combat with a body even shorter than Gasper, since he had originally started his own training when he had been smaller. I don't think it would be that inappropriate. I do, and as the one sucking blood, I have the option. Anyway, I'll avoid drinking blood until I can control these powers a bit better. Naruto started to get back to training. Rias smiled and sat down, helping herself to a show. He glanced at her, and she just pleasantly waved to him, showing that she had no intention of missing out. Okay then. Her watching made it awkward. He just felt awkward with a pretty girl watching him train in his new body.
Would you like some training in hand-to-hand? Sure. Sounds good. I would be happy to teach you a lesson. Naruto found that much less awkward, and Rias stood back up and dusted herself off. He looked at her, and she clearly was not a hand-to-hand fighter with her body. She was sexy, but her body was less toned from hard muscle, and more just naturally sexy.
Rias giggled. I think you would be surprised. I have quite a bit of basic training under my belt. I might be a wizard type, but I keep myself in shape, and I am quite a bit bigger than you. Rias took up a basic stance.
Naruto sighed when he saw it. Yeah sure. Naruto reacted when Rias threw a sly sucker punch, and he grabbed her wrist, twisted her arm and then grasped the front of her top.
Rias found herself upside down, then on her back. What? Rias muttered as she looked up at the sky in surprise, not in any pain. She looked towards Naruto and just saw that his arms were extended, showing that he had flipped her onto her back. She leaned up and looked at him, before she scrambled to her feet and dusted herself off, blushing at how quickly she ended up eating her own words. Right, on the outside, he might be a cute boy, but on the inside he is experienced. Rias saw Naruto drop to the ground and start to do push-ups.
There was a silence as she slowly put up her hands to fight, only to drop them when he ignored her desire to spar. Basic form. Basic weakness. Was that judo? No, that was the basics. Also, don't show off your starting stance so freely. An experienced opponent can guess how you fight if they see your stance. Take a stance that doesn't reveal how you fight, Naruto explained to her. He did a few more push-ups, before he saw that she lowered her hands. She blushed, since she didn't expect to have been flipped so easily.
She talked big, then got put down. So, where did you get all of your experience from?
I was a super-powered ninja dictator who ruled over a military nation and united an entire world under my beliefs. I started training when I was 4 years old, joined the military at 12, stopped a war at 17 and defeated a goddess, became an academy teacher at 19, and when I was in my late 20s, became the nation's leader. Naruto explained where he got his experience in an extremely shortened version of the story. It was no mistake to say that most of his life was battle experience and training for battle. Naruto made a face. Super-powered ninja dictator. Child soldier, what? Rias was confused as she sat down and stared at her bishop. Naruto placed his palms against the ground firmly and rose up as shadows moved under him. Rias was visibly confused. I mean, I wasn't the only child soldier. Everyone was kind of expected to enlist. Well, each year only about 6 people actually graduate from the academy and join the force. My year was special in how we have 9 people pass, and later on, the tests to pass got easier. Naruto had made sure that himself. As technology was mixed into the shinobi world, things just got so much easier for everyone, and young ninja didn't need to be as strong to survive. So you know secret training? Nope. Can't share any secrets. You guys lack the crucial element needed for shinobi training from where I come from. And now I lack that quality too, Naruto stated. Since he no longer had chakra, and none of the people here had the same type of chakra from his world, that meant that other than martial arts styles, there really wasn't much that he could pass on to anyone in this world, as if he wanted to pass it on anyway. Rias had the cuteness to pout at him. You know, I expected you to be goofier. I am a pretty goofy guy when I am not training, but it is pretty important for me to get my body under control. I also need to see if my special life force will have any effect on this vampire and devil biology. Naruto flipped to his feet. He opened his mouth and bit his hand. The wound healed within moments as shadows came out of the wound itself. And Naruto could sense that the fusion between his life force and Gaspar's body had created a supercharged healing power, maybe even more enhanced with the devil biology enhancement. The vampire ability to become shadows, fused with strong Uzumaki life force, enhanced by devil biology, meant that it would seem he had a healing ability most likely on par or stronger than what he had previously. He had no plans to test it out to see how far it went. Maybe you should train with Yuto or Kaneko. No thanks. I don't really like people who lie to themselves, or people who are obsessed with revenge. Naruto rejected the offer from Rias. Rias was stunned for a moment at the objective refusal. So they told you? Nope. You can see it in their eyes. Kaneko has sad eyes. She buries her emotions, and hides who she really is. She is afraid of herself. Don't know why, and don't care. Yuto has a heart filled with darkness and revenge, so I am not going to approach either of them until they come talk to me first. Naruto would not engage with either of them. Why? He had no idea what he would say to any of them, because he had trouble talking to people who lied to themselves. He felt super awkward around them, because every part of him wanted to call them out on their shit, but since he didn't know what was wrong with the peerage, he couldn't call them out on anything. I think you should get along with them. Rias pushed forward. She wanted her entire peerage to get along. How about Akano then? No, I can kind of tell what is wrong with her.
And it stems from daddy issues, and that would end badly. You can see the daddy issues in her eyes. I don't want her to fall in love with me for being a good male figure in her life. Naruto deadpanned, since he couldn't see that ending in any way other than her developing feelings for him. Girls with daddy issues would typically latch onto a guy that she could push her daddy issues onto, and if she became attracted to him, those feelings would manifest into romantic feelings. Yet, those romantic feelings would not be healthy either, because she would put him on a stage higher than herself to look up to. Instead of an equal partnership, it would become a form of emotional and romantic reliance. So, when I was alive, my daughter had black hair. And when she grew up, she inherited her mother's big boobs. Akeno had a similar aura of calm devotion as my previous wife, and I can sense that she has the same violent streak as my daughter. It would be super awkward for me if I got involved with her, Naruto continued, since he could not imagine getting to know Akeno without wanting to spoil her rotten, and her not developing romantic feelings for him. My wife was a rather traditional woman, and my daughter, she inherited a lot from me, including my temper. Naruto gave a chuckle. Rias leaned forward in interest. What was it like, being married? It was like being complete. Finding the person who makes you feel like a complete person, through good times and bad. Naruto could see Rias sigh with a conflicted smile that had both happiness and sadness. He didn't ask. Familiar? Rias asked me to get you so we can do that. Akeno politely told Naruto, and she gestured up at the sky. The best time to get a familiar is during the full moon. Her explanation made sense, since hunting for any animal in a forest was better done with the full light of the moon, and not when it was darker. Naruto looked at Akeno, who was smiling at him in a way that showed she wanted to have some kind of conversation. He wondered what was going on in her mind. I want to see him in cute clothes. Then again, maybe I could do without knowing. Naruto thought as he stopped trying to pop the water balloon with magic. Akeno looked at the water balloon with a curious glance. Oh my. This is a very interesting training. What is your goal? Let's walk and talk. Akeno turned, and started to walk since they were on a time crunch. It was a last-minute thing after all. I am trying to master shaping raw magic into a bunch of spirals. Then you might want to change plans, because shaping raw magic is quite difficult. And a spiral is even more difficult. Shaping it into multiple spirals would take a level of concentration and control over magic akin to a master wizard. Akeno was a bit of a magic expert herself. She took the water balloon from Naruto, she held it, and she manipulated raw magic. But nothing happened at all. Magic is done by changing raw magic into the form you desire. Usually a curse, an element, or an effect. Manipulating raw magic without transforming it would be quite the feat, Akeno stated. The balloon popped when several dozen ice spikes came out of it, the water inside of the balloon freezing solid when Akeno changed the element of her magic, and imagined a shape she wanted it to take. He didn't respond to her, since she didn't say it was impossible by itself, just that it was unlikely. Akeno blinked. Akeno looked behind herself, and down at her own butt. When she felt like something had just smacked her, she raised an eyebrow, not having sensed anything at all attack her butt. Yet she still had the feeling that she had gotten spanked for some reason. She glanced at Naruto, who pulled out another water balloon and just kept practicing. In the familiar forest now, everyone starts with something low or mid-level, and works their way up to stronger familiars. We all have them, Naruto? Rias was explaining it, but Naruto didn't seem like he cared too much. He just looked at some of the visible creatures, like a slime crawling across the ground, a few strange bird-like creatures flying in the air, and some things jumping around in the trees, maybe a 9-headed hydra, or... Naruto just hummed. Sounds evil, not interested. Naruto didn't care for the way she said that name too much. Maybe a bat. Yuto spoke up, trying to help. He had not been able to have a conversation with Naruto yet since he joined, and Naruto kind of avoided him. He was polite, friendly, and smiled, but he could see that Naruto wore an awkward look on his face. I have a bat for mine. Rias pointed out, something that'd be useful for training. Naruto thought as he looked around the area itself. He started to wander off, and the group as a whole followed after him, since it was safer in numbers apparently, not that he minded them following him. Hours later. Hurry up. Naruto poked a black slime with a stick a few times, and the thing just wiggled. He slapped it away when it tried to latch onto him. He could sense that people were starting to get frustrated with him. Even the familiar master was visibly annoyed, while only Rias seemed to be happy with how seriously he was taking this. Most all of them apparently only took about an hour to find a familiar. He was pushing 4 hours. If it a slime familiar you seek, sorry, but they tend to be very meek. Naruto grabbed a chunk of slime off of the black slime and looked at how thick the fluid its body was made up of was. He tossed the slime back onto itself, before he stood up and wiped his hand on his pants. He then started walking again. Since he didn't find what he wanted, slimes seem about the right consistency, so a slime with a bit more thickness, Naruto had a desire. Other familiars seemed to be too focused on a specific ability, and thus could not be used for training very much. Naruto glanced at the group. They all froze in time. And Naruto walked over to them. He rose the shadows out from under them, and placed both of his hands together to form the shadows into a net. slimes started to fall out of the trees, and the nets above the group caught the slimes. They were all green, and this was the third time they had tried to ambush the group. He shoved his hand into the now super large slime. Before he squeezed it, taking his arm out, he used the shadows to fling the mass of slimes deeper into the forest. Time resumed on the group. Naruto, why are you looking at the slimes? Rias asked calmly, since they were weak familiars. Doesn't need to be a slime. Just something that can help my training. Naruto left it at that as he continued on his walk through the forest. They came into a clearing, a large blue dragon. The entire group froze when they came face to face with the blue eyes of the dragon, who stared them down. Naruto just approached the dragon when he saw those eyes. Naruto, stop, that is Tiamat cool. Hey Tiamat, I am Naruto, have you seen a familiar that can? I will not be your familiar, I don't want you as a familiar. Naruto responded as soon as she finished interrupting him. The dragon having a female voice, he had no desire to have the dragon, since she didn't look like she would be too useful for what he wanted. Tiamat stopped laying down and raised her head, staring down at him, her eyes narrowed. You don't, I am just not interested in you, Naruto confirmed for her. She had an icy cold aura about her as she leaned her head down and looked at him. He doesn't mean that. Rias rushed in and covered Naruto's mouth. I am sure he would be honored to have you as a familiar, but he just wants something better for a beginner is all. Rias felt her hand get taken off of Naruto's mouth. No, and don't put words in my mouth, she just doesn't seem like she would be very useful in my training. Well, sorry to bother you Tiamat, I am going to keep looking for a familiar that way. Naruto apologized for taking up her time, he didn't mean to walk in on her taking a nap, so he continued to walk through the clearing. Boom! Tiamat slammed her foot into the ground in front of Naruto, and she stared down his lack of fear and overall lack of anger or any negative reaction to her blocking his path. I guess I could think about being your familiar, if you pass my test.
No thanks, I don't want you as a familiar, wouldn't help my training. Naruto waved off her offer. The familiar master covered his mouth with his hand in shock when Tiamat actually made the offer. While the overpowering dragon aura caused most others to hesitate to react, Naruto bit his thumb and lifted up the sleeve of his arm.
He started to write on his arm in the palm of his hand. Well, you don't have a choice now, I am interested in you, so either you accept me as your familiar, or die for your disrespect. Tiamat threatened him as she blocked his path, and she looked at the strange symbols he was writing on his arm. She raised an eyebrow when Naruto unbuttoned his shirt and started to write on his stomach as soon as he finished with what he was writing on his arm. Naruto glanced up at her. Like I said, I have a very specific training in mind. You don't want me to be honest. I don't think being honest is that disrespectful. I would be the strongest familiar, in no way, shape, or form would I ever be lacking. That is your disrespect, to imply that I would be lacking compared to anything. Tiamat circled her neck around Naruto, blocking the group's view from him. She looked at what he had written, and she couldn't understand what the symbols meant at all. Naruto showed her his arm more directly. Back off, or I will seal you away. Oh ho, you certainly have guts to threaten me, and with being sealed no less, you think I fear. Naruto placed his palm against her scales. One word, and you're sealed away inside of me. I may not have my chakra, but turns out, even without my chakra, I have access to a strong seal that is connected to my soul, not my chakra. Naruto didn't want such a pushy familiar, or one that would try and dominate the master-familiar relationship.
Was he bluffing? Kind of, because there was a chance that he was wrong, and when he activated his Torii seal that already existed as part of his soul, that nothing would happen.
10, 9, 8, 7. Naruto started to count down. Tiamat showed all of her teeth at him. Yes, you are worthy of being my master. I accept the role of your familiar. I don't care if you like it or not. Only somebody with guts like you deserves this honor. To not back down from me is a feat worthy of my respect. Tiamat gave a low, satisfied growl, but she refused to back down from his threat. Young man, just make her your familiar. Do it. Tiamat backed off of Naruto when he just continued his countdown. And she stepped to the side to allow the group to pass through. She could not tell if he were bluffing or not anymore when he ignored her offer, and decided that she didn't want to risk it. If he could seal her, and he had already finished the prep work for the seal, then it would be a bad idea for her to keep herself in a position to be sealed away. She looked down at him with a sense of respect, and her cool dragon aura lessened to the point everyone else could breathe normally again. Boy, for what purpose do you seek a familiar? I kind of want a slime, but a really thick slime. That way I can tear pieces of it off and put it inside of water balloons. You see, I am working on recreating something, and I think I have to change up my training a bit. Water seems like a bad way to focus magic, but a magic energy absorbing slime would really help me visualize what I want, Naruto explained to Tiamat. Tiamat took a deep breath. You reject me, the strongest familiar, only woman of the Dragon Kings, for a slime. A thick slime, Naruto corrected her, and she just looked at him with disbelief. What would it take for you to accept me as a familiar? Tiamat bargained with Naruto, while the group watched with various levels of growing shock. Tiamat was trying to bargain with Naruto, she had tried to test him. Then she tried to threaten him, now she was trying to bargain for the right to become his familiar. Unless you can help me visualize raw magic better, then not really. I really want to improve my control over magic. Naruto had no use for a strong familiar. A strong familiar was a crutch that could prevent a person from getting stronger, by becoming reliant on the familiar instead of trying to grow stronger without it, even more so a familiar that was so overly willing to help, and wasn't pushing back against him all that much. Very well. Next we meet. I will have attained a treasure to help you in your magic training, Tiamat promised as she flapped her wings, and took to the skies. Thanks. Next time, you will become my master. Weird dragon. Naruto pointed to the Tiamat as she flew off. Looking back at the group as he said that, Naruto looked up, and he saw that the night was almost over anyway, which didn't leave him a lot of time. By the end of the night, Naruto had failed to find a familiar. School. Apparently, this world had a different and more age-based school standard for kids and teens to go to schools. Rias and Akano, who were almost 18, were third years.
Yuto, who was 17, was a second year. Finally, a year younger than Yuto was Kaneko, who at 16 was a first year. Kaneko is very stated to be 15, that is a fan guess. Gaspar's body was 16, which Naruto did not know for a fact, but he suspected Gaspar was on the young side. It was highly disappointing to him to know that Gaspar was a middling teen and not a younger teen. That meant his body wouldn't grow nearly as much as he would like in the future, but he could deal with it.
How? How did you get these high scores? Rias asked Naruto, since she only ever saw him train. He never studied or did anything but train. Yet when she gave him a mock test to enter Kuo Academy with the rest of them, he not only aced all of the questions, but he did so very impressively. Mathematics. 100 A Japanese. 100 A Social Studies. 100 A. Science. 87 B English. 76 C. He had scored the primary subjects with scores that were better than her own. Despite how goofy he seemed he could be, his academic studies seemed to be above that of a teenager. I was literally a diplomatic military leader, and I led my country into greatest period of technological, social, and cultural growth. Naruto wasn't super book smart, but if it was just high school level stuff, then he wouldn't even struggle after all of the work he had to do when ruling a country. Science was a bit more of a problem once you got past the basics, but there were enough basics in the test that he was able to pass it without too much trouble. He picked up English when he walked around Europe, that was about it, and history was just something you needed. You should join me as a third year then. Nah, first year will work fine, less work to do, more time to train. Naruto figured if he was going to have to go to school, then going to the easiest grade for him would be best. He didn't imagine he would struggle too much with any grade, but at least if he went for the first year position, he would be able to coast through school on the no edge he already had, and then just kind of spend as little time focusing on academics as possible. Rias didn't see a flaw in this. She wanted her peerage to get good grades, but if this mock test was any indicator, then she knew he wasn't going to have trouble. Good education was one of the ways that helped you pass promotion tests to raise your devil rank. As it stood, on an education standard, he was already in the ballpark of her high-class brethren. All he would need to know to pass a promotion exam on knowledge would be devil culture's history. Months later, seems decent. Naruto inspected a shadow blade that he created. It was durable enough to use in a fight, but wasn't all that sharp either. He had upped his training on manipulating shadows, and had been working on transforming parts of his body into animals. Bats seemed the easiest thing to transform parts into. He was getting the hang of these vampire abilities at least, but shadow controlling was the one he wanted to work on the most. It was the single ability that took the greatest magic power control, which was what he needed most. Why make a sword? Well, I am pretty good with them overall. I am not Sasuke or Tenten, but I am competent with most weapons, and swords are useful for offense and defense. Naruto explained to Gaspar. He preferred to use his fists or ninjutsu, and while he had no talent for genjutsu, he made sure to learn to notice them and dispel them. When it came to fighting as a ninja, he had no true weakness, or one area that he specifically put all of his training effort into. One could say he was a taijutsu, ninjutsu specialist, but that was only half true, since it was more akin to the fact that he just outclassed those around him. He didn't specialize in anything, but was talented in putting what he did know to good use. I guess I should start making my own pervy magic, Naruto hummed in thought. Gaspar looked at him. Why? Perverted techniques are the most useful, because they are the least expected. Take your opponent by surprise for even a single second, and you have an advantage. I once saved the world using pervy techniques. Naruto grinned as he remembered the feeling of punching a goddess after tricking her. Wow. Is it okay to be skipping class for this? Gasper asked as Naruto dropped the sword. It vanished into their shadow. But Gasper could feel it still existed. There was a very pregnant moment of silence as Naruto tried to think of a way to make a perverted technique, before a light lit up in his eyes. He ran his hand along a tree. Akano said that the way to use magic is by turning raw magic into something with imagination. So, if I have a mental image and enough control, I should be able to do this, Naruto stated as he kept up a strong mental image, and he created a small enough of sparks between his fingers, they were barely even noticeable. Ah, there you are, just in time. Can I test this technique out on you? Naruto asked Rias when she approached him. She just raised an eyebrow. You skipped school today. I was training. Can I test this technique out on you? It won't kill you, Naruto promised her. Since he wanted her express permission, she looked at his hand, and saw the electric fields between his fingers. She looked at them seriously, as if considering saying yes. What does it do? Scrambles electrical signals in the body. I want to test to make sure I got it right though. Naruto tapped Rias on the arm. Ow. Static shock. Rias dropped to her knees, unable to control her body properly. Naruto looked at her, but when she tried to move her jaw to talk, all that ended up happening was the fingers on her left hand moving around instead. She tried to move her arms to stand up, but her toes flexed instead, and her facial muscles twitched. My body isn't obeying me at all. No, it is obeying me, but the signals are confused, Rias realized as she tried to move everything. Nope, dang. I wanted to scramble your pleasure and pain signals, heighten pleasure and dull pain. Naruto could see that his mental image had been only halfway strong enough. He was basing the technique on Tsunade's body pathway derangement, but since that was what he was basing the technique on, and what he was using as a mental reference, he had got that effect instead of the effect he had been going for. It was a medical technique from his world, but it seemed even easier to recreate with magic than through the process of studying medicine. Well, he knew how the human body worked pretty well anyway. What happened to her? Gasper asked with concern. She'll be fine. Her body's signals are all scrambled. It will wear off after a little bit, or she can relearn her body's movements. Naruto explained as he took his hand and touched it to himself, scrambling his own body's signals as well. Rias looked at him, and she saw him moving his body around as he experimented with what parts of his body did what. He stood back up after a small amount of time, showing that he had relearned how his body worked. Wow. It isn't that hard. As a ninja, you have to quickly learn how to transform. When you transform, you need to learn to move your body to match your new form. Relearning your body isn't as hard as learning an entirely new form. Naruto created more sparks between his fingers and touched Rias. She was able to move things correctly again, and she stood up, dusting herself off. With chakra techniques, you needed knowledge and practice. Seems with magic, you need imagination and knowledge. Might be why I am struggling a bit. The concept of it, and the way it feels is different, Naruto mumbled to himself. Chakra techniques started with the knowledge of what you wanted and how the chakra would need to act to make it happen. Then it came to the ability to follow through. Finally you needed practice to utilize it. Magic seemed to start with not knowledge, but imagination. It needed a strong and stable mental image to follow through. Finally, you needed to practice keeping a consistent mental image. So, this was based off a different technique. Scary? Rias asked. The ability to touch your enemy, and rob them of the ability to properly control their body was a terrifying ability. Scary. Any skilled ninja would be able to figure out how to fix themselves up pretty quickly, and if you have teammates to cover you, it isn't too threatening. Naruto didn't see it as such. It could be dangerous if you were alone, but it lacked the shock factor that a distraction had. There were able techniques that could be used without full control of your body. Rias didn't see it that way. It might seem like a simple thing to Naruto, but it was a devastating technique that could turn the flow of battle completely. Experience. He has lived a life where he has truly experienced the battlefield. He has seen so many different techniques. He just casually created a technique that could cripple hand-to-hand fighters. Rias didn't even know where to begin trying to replicate the technique he made. Her imagination wasn't strong enough for her to imagine how the technique would or should work. It only worked for Naruto, because his strong mental image came with his own experiences. She wondered what other treasure troves of experience could he provide for her. Okay. Instead of thinking about Granny's technique as a base, I'll imagine just the effects, and how I want the effect to work, and I will avoid thinking of anything else. Naruto focused all of his imagination on the technique itself.
sparks showed around his fingers again, and this time he touched her on the arm. Rias felt a pleasurable tingle on her arm that spread up about 6 inches, and she shivered when she felt a small breeze go over her arm. It was a pleasurable feeling that was almost distracting in nature. Naruto sighed. As far as perverted techniques go, not flashy enough, it's gotta be something shocking, that really packs a punch. Pack a punch. Naruto paced back and forth, ignoring Rias, but she didn't mind. She just sat down and decided to shut up, and see how his thought process was going to end. This was both amusing, and she could see it was being educational.
Naruto hummed. He formed his hands into a heart shape, and Rias watched as magical power gathered between the heart-shaped gap in his hands. Fem beam. Naruto shot a beam of magic power out of the heart shape, and it struck a boulder. Rias watched as the boulder glowed, before it changed shape. It became a boulder, shaped like a beautiful, petite, girl. Penis. Ha 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 ha. Fembeam. Like femboy. The idea struck me. Gasper looks like a girl, despite being a boy. Hey, we look like a girl, exactly, which inspired this technique. Shoot somebody with this beam. Turn them into a trap. Naruto spoke with Gasper and ignored Rias, since the boulder was not a living object, it just took the shape. Rias palmed her face. That won't work well against a living thing. No, but it is a great scare tactic to distract them. Also, look at this. I can bet you money that some degenerate would love to buy this boulder. Naruto looked at the boulder again, and spend a ton of money, smooth out the edges, give it a paint job, and put a cute outfit on it, and it will just be a life-size figurine, Naruto explained. Rias didn't say a word. I would buy that, Rias mentally admitted. Naruto was on the goofy side, but it would appear that his experiences in life had given him a very powerful imagination, and a huge pool of techniques that he could take inspiration from. Speaking of cute clothes, we should wear them, Gasper. Why would we wear girls' clothes? The only reason we would want to do that is to take advantage of our cuteness to confuse people, or get girls to drag us into the women's dressing room. Naruto stopped and seriously considered it. Second life, he was never going to the afterlife to be with Hinata, so he might as well try and find a woman to be with in this life. Also, he had been loyal to Hinata in his first life and in his afterlife, so this was his chance to make a new life for himself. If he allowed his attachments to his old life to dictate how he lived his new one, he would be disgracing his old life by letting it control him. So, pros. We look cute, girls will adore us, we can prank people. Cons. Dressing like a girl is a little weird, not very manly, and skirts don't go well with boxers. Panties are an option. Zip it, Rias. This is between me and Gasper. Naruto raised a hand to stop Rias from speaking in this private conversation. He sat down as Gasper's form came off the ground and sat in front of him. Rias had an extremely biased opinion. Rias loved cute stuff, so she was biased. I want to see you wear cute clothes though, Gasper complained. We look cute in cute clothes, and I am in our shadow. At least give me something cute to look at. Gasper moved around and complained. Naruto hummed, and felt some guilt. He would consider that. He wanted to make Gasper happy too after all. Nothing was more petty than a god scorned. The Shinigami had been scorned by the Uzumaki clan many times, and just because he got his revenge didn't mean that he was done getting revenge. Gods did not believe that any mortals should get away with just being punished. They needed to suffer. Jinchuriki. Bring me the Jinchuriki. The Shinigami sends his regards, and has offered me my revenge. A giant creature that was unlike anything that had ever been seen by Devil Society before just one day appeared in the middle of the forest. Seraphal Leviathan looked at it with her eyes serious when she saw it standing in the ruined remains of a low-class devil village. Devils who were extra demons not even a part of the 72 pillars, and she saw dozens of corpses piled up in the middle of the village. She was the first to arrive after getting an alert, a distress signal that suddenly vanished for no reason. The entire village was burning to the ground, and tears welled up at the edges of her eyes. A monster. It stood over 70 feet tall, and its body was black, skeletal in appearance. It had the appearance of a headless monkey's skeleton with black furred skin stretched over the bones, and large featured bird wings. Its body was unnaturally, horrible thin for its size, and its mouth was located on its torso, opened wide to show the creature had no real internal organs, but large, horrible teeth that were designed for destruction. No eyes. Yet, it looked towards her, turned its body to face her, and she closed her eyes to sense any magical power in the village. None. I am going to kill you. Seraphal took her wand, and she charged up a large amount of magical power. She swung it. The entire village froze solid, but to her shock, the monster dodged her attack even before she fired it.
Where the village froze over, it floated up into the air as if it knew the exact range of her attack, and exactly when she was going to launch it. Pure magical power. Seraphal gathered her magic power in its purest form and raised her wand above her head, before she brought it down and launched a beam out of it, a beam so fast that it crossed the great distance between herself and the monster within a moment. It dodged. It just dodged her attack, and her attack went flying past it, and at a mountain range, blowing the entire mountain range up to smithereens. Seraphal stepped back in shock as it flew at her. And just as fast as her beam had crossed the distance, it too crossed the distance and floated in the air above her. It flapped its wings and hurled a wave of sharpened feathers right at her, faster than she thought that something its size could possibly launch something.
Searzex, hurry up, or Ajuka. This thing. What the hell is it? Seraphal created a wall of ice in front of her.
A feather pierced the ice and came feet away from her head. With her eyes widening at the piercing power of the feathers, she looked to her left and swung her arm out of instinct, abandoning her wand in favor of pure power. No holding back. Celsius cross trigger. An icy wasteland was what became the region around her as she activated her strongest technique, with such a wide radius that she had no doubt that it couldn't dodge her. Her icy wall expanded in size, and she covered a small county's worth of land in ice, with parts of her own body being covered in frost as well. Cold. But you missed. How? How did I miss? Seraphal watched as the monster floated down, having seemingly dodged every single pillar of ice that formed, and even the cold itself. Its breath was hot enough to be visible from even behind the large wall of ice between her and the monster. Seraphal summoned her wings and flew up above the wall.
A red ball went flying at her the second her head was above the wall, and she flew to dodge it. Before she saw the monster flew in front of her, waiting for her. The red ball hit a mountain when it missed her, and turned the mountain into a crater. What was this thing? It's fast, and agile. This thing is way faster than anything its size should be, and how can it dodge everything I send at it? Seraphal placed both of her hands in front of herself. She summoned dozens of fireballs instead of ice, and rained them down towards the monster.
It flew, and its agility was unreal as it managed to fly between the fireballs. Despite its size, she destroyed huge portions of ice and frozen forest, but she was unable to so much as scratch her agile enemy.
She slapped her forehead and placed a mind-reading block on herself. You think your protections will stop me from reading your heart?
Seraphal felt her heart skip a beat when it spoke of what she did, and how futile it was. She calmed herself and kept throwing spell after spell at it, if only to keep it dodging her attacks. She flew and dodged the feathers it sent her way, but that was a challenge. It sent so many of them, and it seemed to always know where she was going to dodge.
She would lose the long-range battle if this kept up. It doesn't just predict my attacks before they happen. It predicts where I am going to be before I am even there.
Seraphal stopped firing spells for a moment so that she could focus completely on dodging. The feathers were huge, and they should have been easy to dodge, but there was no end to them, and they were all launched with pinpoint accuracy. She felt one of them tear the shoulder of her outfit, and wound her deep enough to get a small cry of pain out of her. And it's getting more accurate. What the hell is a Jinchuriki? What is this thing even looking? Seraphal gasped in shock.
Her vision was blocked as it dodged the distance between them and reached out for her, its hand blocking her sight.
It was unbelievably fast. She flew between its fingers as it gripped at her, and went point-blank range as she charged up her magical power and transformed it. She pointed at it from a zero-distance range.
Gotcha. She fired her ice magic at it, but it just flipped and twisted its body, dodging her attack, even at point-blank range. Searzex, please hurry up. I'll even accept Ajuka or the lazy general.
I don't know how long I can keep this thing preoccupied. The monster mocked her with her thoughts. What she was thinking deep inside of herself. She flew away from it and created enough distance that she could resume a battle of range. She kept her eyes on it, never letting it out of her sight or else be shocked by an attack she couldn't predict. Where could such a strong beast appear from? And how it is reading my heart. You're not my target, devil woman. The monster roared with laughter as it mocked her. I am not just a devil woman. I am the strongest female devil. I am magical girl Seraphal, and stop reading my mind. It's an invasion of privacy. I don't need to read your mind. The darkness in your heart is more than enough. The creature pointed a finger at her. Gotcha. Seraphal pointed both of her hands up, and pillars of ice shot out of the frozen ground and went towards the monster. The second she was sure it dropped its guard, but instead, she was stunned when it created a red energy ball with its hand-like feet, and smashed the pillars, before putting a large crater in the ground. It seemed to frown at her. The shattered remains of the ice it shattered floated around it, before Seraphal turned them into spears and aimed them at it from all angles. Dodge this. It flapped its wings and sent feathers at every single shard of ice, destroying them all. Before it swept its hand and knocked away the broken remains, it flew directly towards her, and she charged up a spell in front of her. It swatted her. Its hand came out at her faster than it should have, and she felt an immense and powerful pressure behind the attack as she slammed into the frozen ground hard enough to shatter her own ice, and several of her bones. Her body became the center of a crater, and blood came out of her mouth.
I hoped a dead village would lure the Jinchuriki out, but it seems like maybe the strongest female devil would be better bait. Can't move away, broke my wings, and I've both my legs and my arm broke. And several ribs for sure. Seraphal raised her hand and summoned enough strength to make the ice around her grow
and shoot out like frozen hands towards the monster. It dodged her attacks though and created distance between them. She grinned as blood leaked down her face, and she saw one of her own ice chunks had pierced through her shin. Talk like that after you've killed me, because magical girls don't stop fighting until we die. Seraphal closed an eye when her own blood covered half of her face completely.
How could something with such skinny arms in comparison to its size pack so much a punch, because she felt like she just had a mountain slammed on top of her. It turned away from her. A huge sphere flew towards the monster. A sphere of destructive magic unlike what Seraphal was capable of. It was fast enough that it almost hit the monster. But still the creature dodged the attack as if it had known it was coming.
More bats come flying to the slaughter. Seraphal, Ajuka landed next to her, while Sirzex landed in front of them, with another sphere of destruction charged up. You guys came. Of course, there was no way we could miss you using that attack. How did you not kill it with your ultimate move? Sirzex had a feeling he was about to get his answer. He created dozens of spheres and launched them all, but somehow, the monster was able to weave through them all. He placed a mind-reading block on himself, but his eyes widened when the creature still read him and dodged his attacks. He raised both arms above his head, and created a mountain size of demonic power, and he swung his arms down.
It moved out of the way. Something that big, can't be that fast. Ajuka watched as it swung its wings and started to do calculations. Sirzex easily destroyed the feathers that came their way, but he couldn't do much more than defend and launch attacks. He glanced back at Ajuka, who lifted up Seraphal, and carefully held her so that she wouldn't be in too much pain. Be careful. Despite its appearance, it's faster than anything I've ever seen before, and if it hits you, one good hit and consider your body broken. I think it can see the future. That is how it always knows our next move. Seraphal gave Sirzex her best guess on how the monster could dodge all of their attacks. I'll unleash my true form that you have no control of, yes, spread wanton destruction, but no matter how destructive your attacks become, you will never be able to hit me, and eventually, you will run out of magic, the monster spoke. That alarmed everyone. How did it know that? Simple, I can read your hearts. You will never be able to make an attack I can't predict, no matter how fast or strong you are. There have only ever been 3 people who have managed to touch me, and they aren't you. Guess I'll be the 4th, Sirzex stated with a dipping frown. He's already dodged my fastest attack, and he dodged Seraphal's largest attack. Can I really hit him? Stop that. Sirzex hated that the monster was getting that. The monster grinned. Go ahead Ajuka, analyze me, but my power is a power that you can't even comprehend. My revenge against the Jinchuriki who defeated me once before, the Shinigami's revenge. I know all your abilities, all your thoughts, everything you will do, I already know it. You can't touch me. The monster kept dodging all of Sirzek's continuous attacks just to prove a point that he could dodge them. Get her out of here. Gotcha. Ajuka flew off, and left Sirzex in the destroyed frozen wasteland by himself with the monster. The monster allowed them to leave without attacking them. Bring me the Jinchuriki Sirzex, bring him to me, bring me my prey, and your son, your wife, your parents, and your sister will never become my targets. You can't hit me, and you can't risk your true form. You can't control it properly, you can't risk running out of magic. The monster raised a hand, he lifted up 3 fingers. I will halt my destruction for 3 months. Bring me the Jinchuriki in 3 months, and I will be gone from this world. The monster grinned sadistically, but Sirzex kept attacking and not giving it a chance to launch too many of its own attacks. Oh come on Sirzex. I don't tire. I don't need food, or sleep, or to restore my stamina. I can keep fighting forever with no rest. You will soon run out of power. My deal is not a bad one. The monster raised its hand again. Sirzex narrowed his eyes in anger, and just increased the number of spheres he was controlling to attack the monster. Even the growth in number didn't bring him any closer to landing a hit. You won't keep your word. Ah, but I have no choice, for I can only remain in this world until the one who summoned me gets his revenge. Why would I lie? when I can just wait for you to exhaust yourself, and kill you when you're exhausted? The monster raised a point. Sears frowned. I've already used a small chunk of magic. At this rate, it will only be hours before I run out. Sears kept attacking. Attacking was the best defense. He stopped attacking. How will I be able to find this Jinchuriki? He will be the only one who reacts to that word. I do believe this world lacks that term. 3 months. But keep my existence a secret. He's afraid. He doesn't want this Jinchuriki thing to know he's here and give him time to prepare. He came here, and attacked a devil village. So this Jinchuriki must be among my people. Why 3 months? Why yes. I am afraid of the Jinchuriki, but that knowledge will do you no good. And why 3 months you ask? I don't think it should take you too long to find him. I can keep fighting, but I don't know how he keeps reading me, so I can't hit him. Well thought, boy. I am Satori, the monster who roamed the world during the era of the Six Paths Sage himself. Ah. This world doesn't know who that is. I see. Then I will wait right here. Days later. My formula can't calculate it. I've never seen anything like it, and this energy is foreign to me. Ajuka apologized. His powers would be of no use against this monster, but he could research and try and figure out some sort of plan. We obviously can't give it this Jinchuriki person. I agree. Falbium didn't see any good coming from agreeing to the demands of a monster. We can gather our armies. And do what? It will predict everything we do, and if we are surrounded by out comrades, we can't use our strongest powers. It can predict everything we do, but we know literally nothing about it that can help us. Are you okay, Seraphal? Sears placed a hand on the bandaged up Seraphal, who had been mostly healed. All that remained were some broken ribs. I am better. But I agree with Ajuka. For all we know, this Jinchuriki guy knows the secret to beating it. Maybe it just wants the Jinchuriki, so that we can't learn how its secret works. Seraphal could see it invading them again the second that its secret was safe. The more people we get to fight it, the harder it will be for us to actually hit it too. Its body is shaped weird and hard to hit, and large-scale attacks would just hit out people. Seraphal could see this thing destroying armies with more ease than fighting one-on-one. Sears nodded. It seems designed to destroy large groups of people, so we should just give it this Jinchuriki, and let the Jinchuriki fight it. This is frustrating. How can something so big, he's so fast and agile, if only I could hit it, I could destroy it, but it really does seem like it can predict the future. Sears hated the feeling of going against an enemy that he just didn't know how to hit. It was fast enough to dodge his attacks, it was strong enough that its physical attacks would be finishers. Finally, it seemed to always be able to predict all of his attacks, even surprise attacks. The enemy was simple, but not only could it predict attacks, it could predict their thoughts, so they couldn't trap it either. He could only see fighting the monster ending with him running out of stamina, and the monster finishing him off when he ran out. That or take turns fighting it with his fellow Satans, and when one of them gets exhausted, another one takes their place, and they just keep taking turns. That would only be a temporary solution. Any theories? Ajuka tried to think. It wasn't reading their mind, so how was it reading them so accurately? We can't beat it then. Realistically, we might as well just give up and find this Jinchuriki, leave this mess to him instead, watch him fight it, and learn its weakness. Then if it kills the Jinchuriki and vanishes, good for us. If it doesn't vanish, at least we can learn its weakness and kill it ourselves, at the cost of one life. Falbium changed his mind on the course of action he supported. No, veto. Seraphal and Ajuka agreed. I agree with Falbium. Either way, in the end we can win. Anyway, this Jinchuriki person is just some random, not our family, or our friend. For all we know he's a horrible person too. Sears sighed and hated his words. If the monster was telling the truth, he just wants revenge, and we can finish the monster after we learn its weakness, even if it is lying. So we're split down the middle. Seraphal slammed her fist against the wall behind her. I hate this. If only I knew how to hit it, then I could have beaten it by myself. I'll find this Jinchuriki before Sears and Falbium, and get him to team up with me. Seraphal stared down those who opposed her desires in the room. We don't have an option, until we know how it reads us. We need to go off the assumption that every plan we make will fail us. We have no information on the enemy, but the second we show up, it knows all our information. It has already won the battle of knowledge. It knows our abilities, how they work, how to dodge them, and how to work around them. We don't even know what kind of energy this thing uses. Ajuka can't fight it with no information. Sears can't hit it without using his true form, and even that might not let him hit it, and my power is more defensive. Falbium continued to try and persuade Ajuka and Seraphal, and you already lost. I didn't lose. Did you win? Then you lost. Falbium stated clearly for the woman to hear. Listen. It told you guys that 3 people have touched it. That means it does have a weakness. And this Jinchuriki knows it. By giving it the Jinchuriki, we win. Either the Jinchuriki beats it, or we can learn its weakness and beat it ourselves, and it is telling the truth. One life saves many. They continued to argue, neither side changed their opinion. Searsex and Falbium on one side, Serafal and Ajuka on the other. Jinchuriki. Rias was confused when her brother told her that word, since she had never heard it before. She didn't often come across Japanese words that she didn't know of, or know the meaning of. She communicated that much with her brother just by the expression on her face, since they were talking through a magical hologram letter. She noted that Naruto perked up. Nobody else in the room seemed to care about the term at all, and she even looked at Akano, who was Japanese, who shrugged her shoulders. Naruto's raised eyebrow was the only indication of anyone in the room that he had some kind of clue what Jinchuriki meant. Yes, Serafal and Ajuka are helping me look for some person called a Jinchuriki, while Falbium is going to be busy. If you hear any rumors about it in the human world, please, let us know, Searsex stated with a light-hearted tone. Rias could tell that he was stressed about something. If you can at least find out what the word means, that would be helpful too. Searsex tried to stress the importance of the task, without telling her the reason why. She could still see something was wrong. If anything, her brother seemed shaken by something. Jinchuriki roughly translates to power of a human sacrifice. Searsex turned his hologram and looked towards Naruto, who just opened a book with a bored look on his face. Searsex analyzed Naruto for a moment with surprise. He wasn't the only one. But Rias looked the least surprised by Naruto's knowledge of the subject. Naruto glanced towards Searsex, before he turned and laid on the couch with his back facing the hologram. Whoops, Naruto thought. He had to open his big mouth. Naruto. What is a Jinchuriki exactly? It's an extremely rude way to refer to somebody when you know their name. Whoever is looking for a Jinchuriki should refer to them by their name, and not Jinchuriki, if they want to meet them. Naruto frowned with his back to everyone, not feeling like revealing himself as the most likely person that they were after. We don't know their name. All we know is we have to find this Jinchuriki, and we have 3 months to do it. Searsex had now abandoned talking to his sister in favor of directing his conversation towards Naruto. Do you know where the Jinchuriki is? Searsex asked Naruto, who just glanced back at the man slowly.
Why do you want to know? Naruto asked back. There was a silence. That is confidential. So is his location. I am not putting a dear friend in danger, without a very good reason. Naruto responded without any hesitation. Since he and Gasper were connected, any danger that came for him also came for Gasper. He was not going to put Gasper through anything extremely dangerous without a very good reason. His life was not his own anymore, and he owed it to the Dampire team to not fuck up his life.
This is life or death. Can you just give a hint then?
Please, Naruto, be reasonable. I am sure that my brother means no harm towards your friend. Rias tried to be the mediator between her brother and servant. She had no want for them to be in an argument, but she could tell that there was some thick air in the room now.
Promise no harm will come to him then, Naruto stated. Searsex went silent. See, you said 3 months. If that is the time limit, ask me again in 2.5 months. At that point, I'll tell you who he is, if I think you're not going to abuse him. And where did you even learn that word? Naruto asked Searsex as he realized that the man should have never heard of that term before. As Lucifer, I don't care about your position. The way I see it, somebody told you about that word, but didn't tell you what it meant. So who told you? Naruto asked the man more directly. We don't know what to call it. I see. Yeah, that would explain it then. Let me ask you this, were they white-skinned, gray-haired? No. Ah, so not them. If not them, then maybe a giant multi-headed dragon creature made of dark energy. Help me out here. I am trying to figure out where you learned that word. Naruto could think of a few people who were dead that might be able to go to this dimension thanks to how they kind of transcended life and death. He could think of the Otsutsuki for one. But with no chakra in this world for them to take, they wouldn't bother. Then he could think of Morio, but that monster was dead, so it was harder to believe. Possible thanks to how it could reincarnate itself, but less likely. Are you saying there are more things that might be after this Jinchuriki person? My guesses are Ribi, Morio, possibly Satori if his box got opened up, but that would be unlikely. Nobody would be dumb enough to open Satori's box, and even then they would have to throw a sacrifice into the box. Was this guy wearing a no mask, and looking very tentacly? Naruto asked as he suspected maybe it was the Ribi. Searsex was even more confused. Who are these guys? Are these people we should be worried about? Searsex was getting very worried now. Nah, well maybe be worried about Morio and Satori. Ribi is only an issue if it possesses a person with or around strong negative emotions. Satori is a big issue. is the person you heard that term from a giant, black-feathered hell spawn with no eyes, an ugly smile. Yes. Sirzex shouted when Naruto started the description. Well, all of you guys are fucked then, just evacuate the underworld. How does it read our thoughts and movements? Does it have any weaknesses, anything that can be used against it? None that you guys can use, and even if you guys kill it, it won't die. Satori is a damn bastard that doesn't die when it's killed, it just returns to its box and abandons its host. Yeah. Just leave this to the Jinchuriki, Naruto stated with a nod. So 3 months to find a way to beat Satori? He was sure he could do that.
So it does have a weakness then. You need to tell us. That thing almost killed Serafal, Sirzex stated to the shocked gasps of almost everyone in the room. Not Naruto though, who had no clue who he was talking about. Wait, it can't be killed.
Yep, can't be killed, and there isn't a devil that can beat it. Even Rias here, a prime example of the kindest of your species, wouldn't be able to avoid its ability. Naruto gestured to Rias, who took compliment to the praise. I take it that Satori dodged all of your attacks, and managed to read your thoughts. Yes, no matter how fast your attacks, or how many of them you fired at him. Yes, devils naturally hold dark negative emotions in their hearts and souls, it's as simple as that. At the same time, and your very magical abilities are fueled. The power of destruction is dependent on killing intent to work properly, so you can't beat Satori. I am sure the Jinchuriki will fight Satori in 3 months, don't worry about it, but just in case, prepare to evacuate. Naruto was a lot less worried now. Satori was an issue for devils, but honestly, once you knew his weakness he wasn't super horrible to deal with. He would still be an exceedingly strong opponent, but the last time he fought Satori it was with a handicap, and now he was still handicapped, but he had 3 months to figure out a plan to deal with the monster. So, we should just do nothing? Be thankful it wasn't Satori possessing Morio. While in possession of Ribi, now that would be a terrifying combination. Naruto could only imagine how horrible that abomination of a monster fusion would be. If Satori possessed Morio's body, and teamed up with the Ribi, that would be an unholy combination with an exponential increase in power. Also, just send Satori this message. The Jinchuriki is 100 times stronger than when he beat you. Naruto told an absolute fucking lie to Sirzex. Sirzex smiled wide at that great news. If the Jinchuriki was even stronger than before, they had nothing to worry about. He felt a joy and relaxation overtake him, since he could deliver great news to his fellow leaders. Wonderful. Yeah, as long as Sirzex truly believes that, it would scare the shit out of Satori. I bet the Shinigami sent Satori here to make my life hell, and told him I don't have chakra anymore. If he thinks that Sirzex is telling the truth when he passes that message, it should mess with him. Naruto would guess that this was the Shinigami's way of being a petty bastard for getting his ass kicked and losing a few teeth. Sirzex hung up. So, who is this Jinchuriki? Not telling. Naruto told Rias, who pouted, please. Nope. Not while Akano, Kaneko, and Yuto are in the room. They haven't earned my trust, especially the one with the cute butt. Naruto wondered if that statement would cause the three to try and figure out who the one with the cute butt was. They all looked at their own butts, as if trying to figure out if it was them or not. He just wanted to mess with them. Not bad, shouldn't you be training to defeat Satori? Gasper asked Naruto, while Naruto just looked at himself in the mirror, trying on a new outfit. You should wear a skirt. Gasper pointed out to Naruto, since he really wished Naruto would wear some cute clothes. I'll think on it. We only have 3 months until you fight Satori. Should NTU focus more on that? Gasper asked, since in the end it was down to Naruto to defeat the extinction level monster. Nobody else could conquer its weakness easily, and from what Naruto had told him, the strength of the host could even enhance the strength of Satori itself. What the host was super strong. Exactly, 3 whole months, and I am training right now. Naruto showed off as he took off his shirt and showed Gasper the shadow bondage that he was wearing under his clothes. Ropes made out of shadows that were binding him tightly enough that his flesh was being pushed in. He lowered his shirt back over his body. How is that training? Gasper didn't understand that at all. Look carefully. Naruto showed the shadow bondage again. And Gasper lifted his shadow form up to get a closer look. He looked more closely, and he could see that each rope was actually several smaller ropes that were tightening and loosening around each other. Gasper looked even closer, and saw that each time a part of the rope moved, it severed part of the shadow ropes, and then tied it up. I am multitasking while causing myself discomfort. It's something I can do at school. Naruto lowered his shirt again. Why bondage? Why not? As long as I don't get it too tight, it won't hurt that much, and nobody has to know about it if it is under my clothes. Naruto shrank the shadow ropes so that they were no thicker than a pencil, and tightened them more so that they would not show at all. Also, working on a new arrow magic. Shadow bondage, Naruto explained. His control over shadows could improve, and if he practiced the technique on himself before using it on others, he could see the weak points and improve them. Naruto rolled up the right sleeve of his shirt. Gasper watched as their arm moved at an unnatural angle as some of the shadows making up the rope disconnected from each other, connected to different shadows, and tightened up to force the arm to change position. Ropes that can sever themselves, repair themselves, and force the body to take poses against the enemy's will, while being very uncomfortable, to downright painful. Naruto showed that off by making the shadows form knots along the ropes. He winced in pain when the knots dug into his skin. Before he undid them, he rolled his sleeve back up. "I'll say. Jesus Christ bless you. Ow. Worth it." Naruto spoke a blessing towards Akano when she entered the room at some point without announcing herself at all. Akano grabbed her head in pain when Naruto extended a blessing towards her. "Ow. Why do you do that? You know that devils can't praise God, ask for blessing from God, or speak any lines from the Bible." Akano knew that Naruto was fully aware of what he did, and how it also hurt him for offering a blessing, yet he still did it anyway, knowing that it would hurt both of them. Naruto looked at Akano. "Ow." Naruto and Akano said together. It worked even if he thought it, which was even funnier as Naruto laughed under his breath. "Bucko wanted me to who?" Rias wanted me to ask you about what these are." Akano pulled out a small stack of papers with unknown markings and drawings on it. Akano blinked and looked down at herself, before she looked at her shadow and saw a rope coming up from it and wrapping around her leg. She was rooted in place as Naruto took the papers from her and kept them neatly together. She just smiled at him. Naruto gave her a disgusted look when he saw that smile. "Ooh, excuse me." Akano was genuinely confused at him when she read his expression and body language. Curious about why he was looking at her like that, she was now very curious about what he knew about her that was causing him to stare at her this way. She paled very slightly and her smile fell when she got a clue. "Oh, so you know, and you hate me for my blood. That's fine. I hate my blood," Akano started, before stopping. The disgusted look wasn't on his face anymore for some reason. She smiled, and the disgusted look appeared again, before her smile dropped slightly, only for him to seem less disgusted. "Ooh, stop doing that, it makes me sick." Naruto couldn't stand that fakeness anymore. There was little more that he hated on a person than a fake smile, and Akano had one of the fakest smiles that he had ever seen. "Stop doing. Smiling? Fake smiling. It's a lot more obvious than you think it is. Your smile doesn't reach your eyes. If you aren't happy, don't smile. I can't stand people like you," Naruto told her. Wasn't his job to spare her feelings? "You hate me because my smile is fake?" Akano could list a lot of reasons for somebody to hate her. She was a sadist, she was a masochist, she was powerful, she was also weak, she was a hybrid of a fallen angel and human turned into a devil, she was slightly famous with a nickname of her own. She never expected somebody would hate her for such a strange and pitiful reason. "I am in a good mood." "No, you aren't. Are you telling me what mood I am in?" Akano asked him with a rising tone to her voice. "If you were in a good mood, then your smile would reach your eyes. It doesn't, and your smile seems fake to me. I can't stand people who lie to themselves. I also can't stand people who wait for others to fix their shit for them." Naruto rolled his papers up and smacked her on the forehead for it. "Look at Gasper, he never tries to be anything but what he is. I am a shadow of my former self, and I love it. I've never been happier than to not have to worry about others." Gasper spoke up. He was at the happiest he had ever been in his life. He felt safe not being in control, and he no longer had to worry about the stares of others or their opinions. He could put all responsibility onto Naruto, and just let Naruto make all their choices for them.
"I am a dirty, foul-blooded. Oh no, she's going to go into her backstory with me. Fuck, this was why I wanted to avoid talking to her. Why did I have to open my big mouth?" Naruto sighed to himself as Akano frowned with sheer hatred towards herself. She looked at her hands with disgust, and he sighed in annoyance and faced her.
Exactly what he wanted to avoid. "I am a wicked woman. My blood is tainted by my fallen angel father's blood. I hate this body of mine. It's wrong, dirty, and evil." So what? Akano was stunned by the complete lack of reaction to her big reveal that she was a part of their enemy species. She looked right into his eyes, and she saw that he genuinely didn't seem to care about her species. "So what?" Akano repeated again, asking him for more information. Naruto sat down on the floor and started to go through his papers. "So what? It's that simple. I don't care what you are. The only reason I don't like you is your fake smile, and how you give off the aura of a person waiting for a big strong hero to rescue her. Everything that I don't like about you are completely in your power to control. Naruto didn't want to go into much more detail than that. He didn't want to fix her trauma. He wanted her to fix it herself so that she didn't develop some kind of hero attachment to him. You can't control your blood, but you can control everything else wrong with you. Everything else. Akeno took a step back. Well, for starters, Rias told me you're a pervert who enjoys tormenting people. Fix that. You're a pervert who tied himself up in bondage, Akeno responded, taking genuine offense to that. She didn't want to be called a pervert by a pervert. I mean, I am a pervert, but you are in no position to judge me for that. Naruto poked her leg. Hey, perverted techniques can and have saved entire worlds. It is always a good idea to have a few of them in your arsenal. You're a pervert for your own amusement. I am a pervert. Wait. Why am I arguing this? Naruto didn't see why he was getting defensive over it. He knew the value of his techniques, so it wasn't like he had to defend them to her. Anyway, you hate being a fallen angel. Well, too fucking bad. Too fucking bad. Akeno was getting pissed. Yeah, too fucking bad. Whatever issues you have with your blood, you can't change them. If I were to guess, it was your daddy who was a fallen angel, and since you joined Rias, I would bet your mother died, and you hate your daddy because he wasn't there. Naruto saw Akeno physically take a step back. She looked like he had just punched her. She was speechless. How? How could he guess that? I can't even say he doesn't know me. He seems to know me better than anyone else. Akeno thought as she took another step back. She had no words to argue, and the anger drained from her body in sheer disbelief at how easily he seemed to be able to just explain her own past to her. She grabbed her arm and squeezed it, not looking at him in the eyes, but he wasn't looking at her either. How could he guess that? How could he guess that? Stop reading my mind. Akeno could respond to that. I am not. You're just that obvious. No, I can't be that obvious. How is he still doing this? I feel naked, like he is revealing everything. He can. Can he really see right through me? Spot on, Naruto stated with a slowly growing grin. You didn't marry a Hyuga and not pick up a thing or two out reading a person's eye language. He could never get anything over his wife, and neither could his children. He was also a father, so he just knew some of the tells that teens had when they were thinking. He even had experience reading people just like Akeno. Akeno was crying. But how? How do I fix it? I hate him. I hate my father so much. He abandoned me, and my mother. He abandoned us and she died. Why did he do that? Naruto asked her. I don't know. There is your answer. You don't know anything. You're an ignorant little girl at heart, so just accept it, and accept yourself. If you hate the hand that you've been given, then fight to change it. You have friends who love you now, so be thankful and do everything you can to protect what you do have. Your mom is dead. Your dad is gone. You carry their blood in your veins. You can't change that, so don't even try. Naruto just flat out spoke. Just give up. No matter how hard you work, you will never change those things, so work harder to protect, and cherish the things precious to you now. If you hate your fallen angel blood, then use that blood to protect. If you hate your dad, big deal. Use the powers he passed down to you anyway. Naruto told her as he summoned a shadow and made a pillar. He punched it with his fist, and Akeno winced when she heard a crack. Naruto broke his hand. Why? A point. My hand will heal Akeno.
Wounds heal, but Naruto punched the pillar again, and Akeno winced when she heard a second cracking sound as more bones in his hand broke. If I keep abusing myself, it won't heal. Accept your weakness, accept who you are, and strive to do better. Naruto stated as the bones in his hand started to visibly heal under his skin. He rose his hand up, and shadow spikes came out of the ground and pierced the pillar of shadows, breaking it.
Akeno didn't get it. You didn't punch it and break it.
Because I am not strong enough to break it with my fist, so I will use the gifts given to me instead. If you try and go through life thinking I don't need this power, I'll abandon it and do things my way, you will never find a spiritual balance, and you will only be hurting yourself. Accept your weakness and embrace your strength. Naruto watched as she looked at her hands again.
Akeno was silent. How? Just do it. How? Akeno repeated her question to him, a desperate look in her eyes. The tears were still falling down her face. Figure it out. How? You're telling me to just do something without telling me how to do it. I can't just figure it out. I've lived for years with this issue. It isn't so simple as do it. Akeno snapped and her tears flew off her face when she shook her head, angry that he wouldn't answer her question the way that she wanted him to. She looked at him. She expected him to be angry with her for snapping at him. He wasn't even looking at her. He took his papers and walked right by her. No, it is that simple. You need to sit down and reflect on your issues and what you can do about it, and then figure out what you want to do and how you are going to do it. I am not going to just give you the answers. Figure it out. Naruto didn't embrace her in her tears. My advice is to stop lying to yourself first. Naruto left the room with that. Akeno screamed at the top of her lungs and cried when he left the room. 3 days later, Naruto was writing in a journal, while studying a book on magic. Akeno sat down next to him, and Rias watched her friend look over Naruto's shoulder. "Here, let me help you relax." Akeno rubbed Naruto's shoulders, a much happier smile on her face. She had a slightly healthier glow to her skin, and Naruto seemed rather annoyed at the moment. He stood up and walked across the room, and sat down in the chair only big enough for one person to sit on. Akeno got up and followed him. "This is kind of hilarious." Rias held back a giggle as she watched Akeno doting on Naruto. Akeno had approached her and told her what Naruto told her, and she cried a lot, and vented everything. She vented out her sorrows, thanked her for everything she had done to give her a new life, and promised to help her and protect her. Now she seemed attached to Naruto though, the person who forced her to come to terms with her issues. Me and my big mouth. Naruto knew that this would happen if he spoke with Akeno. He just knew it. He knew that his big mouth wouldn't be able to keep shut around Akeno, and he would end up calling her out on her bullshit. He just knew that she was the kind of girl that would fall in love with the first person who made her feel better about herself. Yet instead of thinking about that and keeping his mouth shut, he had to be a motor mouth. "Here, let me help you." Akeno sat down in his lap.
"Woman, do you even know how much bigger you are than me? I can't read with you in my lap like this," Naruto told Akeno, since her body simply had more mass than his did. Not to mention her ass covered a good portion of his lap. He pushed her off of him and back to her feet, but she just seemed perfectly fine with that as well. She stood moved behind the chair, and leaned over it so that her boobs were on his head.
He couldn't see the book. You see, Akeno stopped when Naruto stood up out of the chair and walked over to the couch, before he laid down on it and left her no room to sit down. Peeved. Rias was enjoying this show. "Me and my big mouth," Naruto whispered to himself when Akeno just sat on the arm of the chair, and placed her hand on his forehead, rubbing it gently. Why did he inherit his mother's big mouth? Why couldn't he inherit his father's mouth?
"I see what you meant now, but you did bring this on yourself," Rias stated to Naruto, watching him just have to deal with Akeno's affection as her new favorite hobby. Naruto told her that this was a reason why he didn't want to talk to Akeno, and now she was realizing that he had been spot on. "Speaking of bringing stuff on yourself, I never got an explanation for what those strange drawings were."
The answer depends. How do you like your kneecaps? I enjoy them very much. This was a nice conversation. Rias accepted that answer with a smile. She dropped her question at that, since his statement showed that he had no intention of explaining what the drawings were. "Do they have anything to do with Satori? Even if you don't want to tell me what they do?" Rias asked Naruto. "Nope, they have nothing at all to do with Satori." "I see. Thank you very much." Rias accepted that, and then she started to work on her homework. She nodded to Yuto when he entered the room, followed by Kaneko, who seemed a little confused when Naruto got up and walked across the room, only for Akeno to follow behind him. "She's in Louvre," Rias explained to their confusion. "What?" I opened my big fat mouth. "Well, if you want to keep your mouth shut, I do have a ball gag. I am going to just not be here for a little bit." Naruto sank into the shadows, and moved out of the room as his shadow just vanished completely. Akeno walked towards the window, opened it up with a smile.
"I am going to go help him out. Have fun." Rias waved Akeno out as she jumped, and went on her way to track down where Naruto was going to emerge from the shadows. If he isn't working on anything for Satori, then is he not the Jinchuriki, and really just knows who he is, or is he the Jinchuriki guy? Did he know the Jinchuriki when he was alive? Wait, isn't he from a different world? Rias thought as she tilted her head in confusion.
That homework seems hard. Yuto looked at her work. Rias blinked. "Oh, it isn't homework from school. I am studying anatomy."
Naruto showed me this very useful technique, but my understanding of the body is kind of lacking. Rias was working on her magical studies, and to do that she wanted to study how the body worked. The Grimoire family was famous for their high magical ability and their huge library of spells, but she typically only focused on magic that came with the other half of her bloodline. She raised her hand, and sparks started to gather between her fingers.
She touched Yuto, and he jumped back from the spark, but he didn't collapse, because even if she copied the basic look of the technique, she failed to mess up the electric signals of his body. What was that supposed to do? Not that, Rias responded, and she got back to studying. All she did was give Yuto the smallest of shocks, but the effect of the spell didn't kick in. She had never studied anatomy to the degree she needed to study it. Naruto was bred for murder. I know how to kill people, but not how to do it efficiently. That is the difference, Rias thought to herself. Her power of destruction could be overpowered, and if she ever faced somebody who could vastly overpower her, then her family magic would be useless to her. Yet, Naruto had managed to completely cripple her with nothing more than a simple touch of his hand using a spell that he just thought up on the fly. It was a spell that took so little magic power that even a newborn baby had enough magic to use it, but the mental image was giving her so much trouble, she couldn't get herself into the mindset of how it worked, so in the end the spell kept failing. Not very useful, Kaneko noted. The amount of magic that Rias just used was so little that even babies could produce that amount, so there was no way it could even hurt Yuto in any real sense.
I might give up on learning this one, and ask Naruto to tell me stories about other techniques he had seen, maybe ask him if he could imagine them with magic. Rias sighed and leaned back. She just could not get a clear mental image of how the technique worked, but studying didn't seem to be helping her in that aspect either. She was sure that he had seen a lot of techniques when he was alive. Some of them had to be useful to help her with her problems. Thanks for watching.